Welcome to our shop updates for, when are we posting this?
Tomorrow.
It's October? Did we already do October?
Pre-SEMA.
This is the end of October video?
Yeah.
Oh crap. We better get to work. We got SEMA to get to.
Yeah.
First things first though. We gotta get George over here to trim us up so we look presentable at SEMA. But yeah, so I have to sit still so I can't like really talk much, or else George will slip and then it'll be his fault. Right, so now that I'm done and it's Pio's turn with Mr. George. Right, Mr. George?
Oh, watch out, dude.
Jesus, George.
Dang, I almost cut your fucking nostril off, dude. God.
Let's go out in the shop. Everybody's seen the pace truck. We did the cool wrap-up video where the guy interrupted us so rudely. Next, for Preston and Rick, is this. I don't know why those guys are so loud. Next is this square body. Everybody gives me grief. I don't know the year, but I can tell you it's a later model. Roadster Shop, Fast Track, IRS chassis, GM, Chevy Performance, big block 632 that doesn't fit under the hood, so we just ordered a bitchin' Hogan intake manifold that's like 6 inches lower than this. Kind of has like the LS look, so it's got the runners that come into a main fabricated thing, and then we'll put actually an LS throttle body, like 102 millimeter throttle body on the front of it, and it'll have like what you're used to seeing from us, not this carburetor look. Anyway, all we've done so far is strip down the other chassis, got it onto here. Body mounts, in case anybody's doing a square body Roadster Shop chassis, you have to use the older square body mounts. If anybody knows anything about square bodies, there's like weird years and different body mounts and things. So just a pointer for anybody out there, use the 73 to like 79, 78 body mounts. We found that out the hard way. But this is on. The cool thing about this chassis is it is an IRS. The not cool thing about this chassis is that we had to figure out, so this obviously is 1,000 foot-pounds of torque on the 632, so we upgraded a 33 spline. Axle shafts or half shafts or CV axles or whatever you want to call them, the axle that goes from the third member to the wheel. And there's only one company that anyone knows of that makes a 33 spline input diff. So we just ordered that. Now we got to get the case and the gears and build this all up, and then we can stick that in there, then we can get the pair of brakes, and we got to order those still because we weren't sure what color. But I'm probably going to go with something similar to these coils, because this is going to be Mongoose 2.0. So these are the same guys that own Square Body Syndicate 1 and 2, and James's Blazer and my old Blazer, and they own Mongoose that Broly originally built. So this is going to be Mongoose's big bad brother that protects him from all the other bullies in high school, because it's a lot of horsepower and a fast track chassis. Bed for it. All we've done so far is pull the wheel tubs out of it. We're not sure if this bed is going to drop right on, or if we're going to have to raise the floor a little bit. That'll determine what we do in here. I think it'd be cool to do all bead rolls and make it look sweet and do race truck things with it, but we'll see. Cratus's truck. This is done running, driving. Hood goes up and down with some all-American billet hood hinges. I just got to find the lever. It's way down there on this thing. So that works out good. This is a Golden engine, 6 liter. Actually sounds killer. Great cam on this thing. It's all Holley controlled. Mark over Speed Sport's got it fired up for us. And everything's working good on this, although I have not had time to put a ton of miles on it. But it is doing what it's supposed to do for right now. And it needs to be cleaned up. It's dusty. Right now we're working on the wood bed for this one. So kind of our standard treatment, we've got powder coated hatch. We powder coat that when we powder coat all the chassis, just so when it's open, it matches the chassis. Everybody saw that we did the patina, faux tina on the wheel tubs. And right now we're, one coat is staying on here. So this color is gonna change quite a bit on the next coat, but we're staining, letting it dry, staining. And then that'll be good for the bottom. So we actually did a stain and poly in one. Then we'll flip it over, repeat the same thing again, but then we'll do one more sanding, and then we'll put a satin clear coat spray on over that, just to give the top side a little bit nicer look, and some more UV protection. Fotina bumper, bent license plate, just to go with the crazy kookiness of the truck. And that's where the license plate was originally, so we're gonna leave it there. And then we have a little wire there for a light, so I still need to get a light. Interior-wise, Frank and the guys over at Eye Candy painted and bedlined everything inside, and then we sent it over to Steve. Well, we put the Snowden bench seat in there, and then we sent it over to Steve, and Steve did the underdash skirt. We got a little bit of sound deadener behind the AC box. Underdash skirt has AC vents, AC controls, ignition. We also did sun visors, door panels, and a quick little shift boot. So that's all we're going to be responsible for on this thing. He's going to take it back to Maine, even though license plate says Massachusetts. I don't know, maybe he moved halfway through here, but send it back home, and he's going to do the rest of the interior himself, or have a buddy do it. But we wanted to make sure that all of our stuff could be done, working, functioning, doing what it's supposed to. So, little hard lines on the air stuff there. Somebody gave us crap for using DOT approved airline on Manny's truck. And the plan is to, after SEMA and all this stuff chills out, we're gonna make some covers. And the DOT airline's just, it's reliable. It's more reliable than hardline, but the hardline's good, works. Just adds a union, because we had to go from hard to soft at some point. Anyway, moving on. We have Larry Gloria's truck up on top. We'll talk about that one first, because it's quick. This thing sat over at Frank's waiting its turn for a little bit. And when those guys got to get going on it, they wanted us to address a couple of things. So we changed like the inside jam of the tailgate, which we've never done before. We've had issues with like the tailgate fitment being really tight on like this body style. So we actually cut a whole new channel in there, gave it some more room. That was one thing they want us to do. And then we welded the Heart Fab inner tubs to the outer fenders. So that line will be nice and clean, which sometimes on these, there's overlapping materials, and it can look okay, but you have to spend a lot of extra time, or we could weld them together and then it'll look really cool. Just may not have some of the repairability, but if you get in a car accident with this thing or whatever, you're gonna be fixing stuff either way. So, Victor's truck. So again, this is a 67 C10. What do we have in here for 67 and 72s? There's a lot. Anyway, this is on a Scott's Hot Rod chassis. They kind of, I don't know where the misunderstanding was, but there was some misunderstanding with the front end and the offset. And so we went off of the offset they told us to go off of for the front, and the wheels didn't fit. So they were nice enough to build us some new control arms that are 1.5 inches narrower. So the guys are putting those control arms on, and hopefully the wheel will tuck. And if it still doesn't tuck, then we're gonna have to rehoop the wheels. And we don't really wanna do that. So, bed's all framed out, the rear portion's mounted. We gotta draw up some mounts for the front. Heart Fab tubs are in the rear. All this stuff is final welded and everything. Still gotta make our front plate. We'll do that when we make our mounts. Then we can mount our hinges to it and make this open and close, like normal. Let's go up front. So you see up front, these guys already have the new control arms in. So I don't know when they're gonna lay this thing out again, but maybe before we finish, and we'll see if it actually fits. So this was a Wagner. It had the big, tall valve covers with the concealed coils on it, which is kind of like a dead giveaway that's a Wagner. But with where Scott's Hot Rods sets this engine, the valve cover was into the firewall on the other side. So I kind of gave Victor the option, do you want us to pull the engine forward and clear those valve covers? Or do you want us to clearance the firewall differently to fit the valve covers? Or do you want to just go to a very similar valve cover, but it doesn't have the coils mounted to it? So these we just put on, made sure they fit. These will end up getting painted orange to match the engine, and we'll come in and we'll stripe that in black. But got the power rack down. and then install that and cross all your fingers. See if they fit without having to rehoop the wheels. Should we go talk about the 6400 real quick? So everybody's seen this. It's been a staple around here for multiple years. And we kind of use it as filler work lately. But the open house is coming up, and it wasn't here for the last 2 open houses because Steven was out in New Mexico building the bed for it. So a little while ago, Chris did the fenders, and they weren't just welding fenders on, they've been extended and moved around and done stuff with. But we never had the outer dually wheels on because the axle was a little bit too wide. So what we're doing now, so that we can have all 6 dually wheels on this thing and have it laid out and looking cool for the open house, is we're pulling the axle, which was out of like a 2000 3/4 ton truck. So we're gonna pull the axle out, and we're gonna cut the housing down and shorten the housing, and then bolt up the wheels and lay it out. And it'll look cool for the open house. And then we'll order new axle shafts from Moser, and it's a full floater, so we don't have to have the axle shafts in like you would on a C-clip axle or a 9-inch or whatever. It'll just bolt up like normal, and we can throw the axles in when we get them. So we got Brandon Wallen's truck here. We've been crunching pretty hard on this thing to get it running and driving and over to our booth at Dino's. Just because Brandon's a cool guy, we wanted to try to see if we could make it happen. So the truck will probably look very similar to this at Dino's. I don't think that we're gonna have the wood in time to do the wood bed. And then we'll have to see if Steve has time to do the interior, because right now he's doing Marlins and he only has like 2.5 weeks to get Marlins done. So anyway, this is ready to fire up and run, and we're gonna send it over to Speed Sports. He's gonna do the initial startup on it and do some tuning on it so that we can drive it. And after Dino's, we'll get it back. We'll do the wood bed, we'll do the interior, and we'll get it ready to leave. Right now, we're just doing the AccuAir programming on it, so that way when it goes on the dyno, Mark can just hit button 2 and it'll go to the right height for drive height. It's not aligned yet, but at least it'll put it at a good height. If we need to, it's easy to adjust pinion angle from here because it's still wide open, no bed. So that's what we're doing on this. Everything underneath the hood's done. We got our go-to tow truck driver here getting ready to pick it up as soon as it's done. As soon as it's done doing its AccuAir presets. So this one's going. Maybe you'll see it later. Bye. This side of the shop looks a little bit different. We still have Pyle's golf cart, which does have front and rear suspension in it now. So this does go up and down. It's just a little sketchy because it's on 2x4, so I'm not going to do it. And we'll save it because we think we're going to make it to the get down with this thing. Again, we've got some fingers to cross, and Pyle's got some late nights to put in. But suspension's there, so now it's just a matter of plugging everything back in. Probably try to get some sheet metal done in here just because it's all wide open. But it should be fairly easy because it's mostly squared off stuff. So we'll try to get some sheet metal back in this, bolt the seat back in it. I think we're just going to do a wood panel back here so we can bolt the seat straight to it. Doesn't really give you a lot of room for the back seat, but you know, Pyle's small, so I can drive and he can be in the back or something. Aaron Reed's truck used to live up there. Now it's down here. So you probably haven't seen this in a while, and we even forgot about it. It's kind of nice to get it down and look at it. But LSA from Boris over at Street Machinery. We have some Hart Fab tubs in here, and then we built the firewall. I think Chris did this one, but we had to build it anyway because we set the engine back. This is a Rev B chassis, and we worked with them to get the engine back a little bit further, which won't fit in a factory firewall application, especially with these Holley valve covers on there, because these things have to come off and go back on this side, so they're kind of a pain. But we left enough clearance around them to take those on and off. And then we gave ourselves some extra room for cooling system up here and intake, because with the supercharger, we're going to need a heat exchanger, and then we need the AC condenser, and we need the radiator. So that's why we shoved that engine back. Outside of the truck's going to stay the same. All the rust repair is done. Framework for the bed with our new billet hinges that we're gonna basically debut, I guess you would say, at Dino's. We teamed up with LS Fab on these because these are basically a billet version of their scissor hinges for the bed. So we found, like with the way that we like to do it with the wood bed, the plastic spacers that are in the LS Fab ones don't hold a tolerance as good as billet with bearings, and so we're pretty much ready to release. So we'll have polished, raw, and black anodized available at Dino's. Don't have pricing yet, I'll get it. We'll have it for Dino's. So if you're looking for bed hinges, you want something a little bit step up from the LS ones, we got you. This is the chassis out of Preston and Rick's square body. No, nothing is for sale. We already have like people asking about the engine and the wheels. Nothing's for sale, they're keeping it. So, sorry, not for sale. 430 horse, 430 horse LS3 in here. This is for Tim. I actually need to get this out of here and pull the heads off and put the cam in and do all that fun stuff this engine. So we're gonna try to do that this week. That way at the open house, again, we have something cool for you to look at. So we have a different intake setup going on this one. Tim's truck will be a 67 C10, which I feel like we have a lot of them here right now. But we're gonna kind of go a little bit more modern with this one. So this engine's gonna look a little different. Scott's Caddy. We got this one back from tuning, and Mark didn't like the fuel system that we had. And we had like that Corvette style fuel pressure regulator thing. So it was making 90 PSI somehow, so bad regulator. So he said, can I swap it out? Sure, swap it out. So we put in another one, still 90. Put in a third one, and it was still reading 90 for fuel pressure. So we went to an Aeromotive fuel pressure regulator, and then we had to do a filter, and so we've kind of done some of that stuff. So now this thing is running and driving the way that it should be. Don't have a ton of miles on it yet, but this will be in our Dino's Get Down booth, even though it's not a C10. We have a booth, and it's Chevy, and it's LS. It's GM, it's not Chevy, it's GM. So we're gonna bring this, just because Frank and I really like this car. Scott's a cool dude. He's gonna come out and hang out at the show. I got a voicemail. Over at Frank's, we have our two SEMA projects being buttoned up. So we have the Bronco and Manny's truck, which I guess they're done with Manny's truck. I got a couple pieces to pick up from Polish that need to go on there with just some double-sided tape, just little splash guard things. But that truck's basically done. I've kind of put it through the paces in the neighborhood across the street. Got about 15 miles on it, so we know that we're going to be good to drive it to and from the hotel, especially from the show. Kind of sucks afterwards because the rollout takes forever. But we want to make sure that it's not going to overheat, it's not going to catch on fire, there's not going to have an air leak. So I've done that. Windshield went in the Bronco today. They're still polishing on the Bronco. So as soon as that thing's done being polished, the windshield's dry, I'll take that probably tomorrow, go do the same thing, and then we're ready to load up and hit the road. So a little bit of crunchy time this year, but our crunch time this year is more from like Dino's than SEMA. So we're trying to get Marlin's at interior done, this done, and the red truck that you saw leave on the tow truck earlier, get that stuff done, along with our two vehicles plus our one that's already up in Vegas for SEMA. So that's it. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one. Oh, anyone that's interested in the tailgate latch kits, we will have those at Dino's too, but we're going to release a new video on the install of the tailgate latch kits for the 67 to 72s. So look for that video to be in our channel. I'm not going to promote it like I normally do these because it's just a tailgate install. But go look for that. All right, now bye. See ya. Did you leave? No, you're still here? Get out of here. Ooh, look at the air tank.